hello, everyone. I'm here. I'm so happy to be here with Kamaia Pere. And I met Kamaia at this extraordinary, wonderful Havening conference in New Zealand. She and her team did such a marvelous job in organizing and giving us the vibe of New Zealand. So thank you so much. And I'm so happy to have you here. And I want to read a little bit about Kamaia. She's the founder of our collective, a shared vision to rise above our limiting beliefs and embody our purpose, power, and passion as a collective. She's a Havening practitioner with a growing online client base, and this is in the UK, USA, and Australia, and of course, Bali, where you live now, and New Zealand. So clients describe her session as phenomenal, life-changing, and surprisingly fun. And
Emphasis
this
on the surprisingly fun. Please.
and this is how I got to know you. We had such a lovely connection and so much fun in New Zealand. So I'm so happy you're here to talk about our passion of havening and what's exciting us about it, and yes, what we want to bring to the world. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Where do we start?
Yeah,
Where
where
shall
would you?
we start?
Well,
Um,
let's maybe how about what I like to know from all the people coming on Meet the Haveners is how did they get to know about havening? How did they get into havening?
I think this is a common story for a lot of the practitioners and trainers where we were deeply suffering, trying to look for an answer, tried everything, the counseling, plus minus the pharmaceuticals, reading all this. Like I remember, so I was a medical student at the time, it was 2017, and my mum had gotten sick with what thought was an ear infection, then got misdiagnosed to a whole blown meningitis, so infection in her brain and her body. She lost her hearing. And there were these moments where we didn't know if she was going to survive. Just a little fast forward, she's absolutely fine now. She's doing marathons and triathlons. But as you can imagine, that time for me trying to caress not only being a medical student in one hospital, but also trying to support my mum who was running up and down the hall screaming from her own PTSD with her brain being so vulnerable. All of those moments in time got locked and stored inside my body because I didn't have a safe place to even land or the support to process what was stored or what was present in that moment. And so for me, finding havening was after months and possibly even a year of really significant suffering of the PTSD, the nightmares, the anxiety walking into the hospital, feeling dread every time I had to be a medical student and pretend that life was okay. And so then one day, and this is where I honestly take homage to Dr. Robin Youngson, who is also a havening trainer. He was my trainer, and also a really compassionate, lovely human being alongside his wife Meredith. As I met them at a functional kind of doctor's conference, he gave me his book, Time to Heal, and I ended up going to stay with them for my GP placement as a medical student. Along this time, he said, "Hey, I've got this thing called havening. I know you've told me about your mum and what you've been through. It can help process and honor the traumatic experiences that might still be in your body. You want to give it a go." And so for me at that point in time, whenever I talked about mum, I would cry. There'd be so much unprocessed grief and emotion. Whenever I thought about myself, it was just being this early 20s completely lost, figuring out who she was after and knowing that she could never be the same again. Whilst I was trying to be a medical student, keeping it together with kind of significant almost anxiety attacks every time I walked in. And so plus vulnerable, we had one session, and then I remember jumping in the car with a nurse the next morning for my GP placement, and I just started talking about my mum. And I wasn't crying. I was literally just talking about her as if you would, because I had processed the pain, I'd processed the emotion, I'd processed the meaning behind what it meant to never have a mum who would be the same ever again. And so I think that's when, for me, it was the power of havening, but also the power of possibility, because as that medical student, I was even working with like psychiatrists, in the conventional system, this shit doesn't happen. You don't get beyond your trauma, you just kind of suppress or numb the symptoms. You don't get beyond your anxiety, you just kind of take a break, chuck a pill, and so, or you talk about it and nothing changes. And so for me, that was like a calling point, because I'd always been so interested in what is the root of our suffering, and it's somewhere inside of us. It's not the external world anymore. And for me, I've experienced such a transformation, and the crazy part about it is it's not re-traumatizing. You can do it in complete silence. It's working with the hardwiring of the brain. But it's also really gentle, and for the most part, you're talking about what you love to do. And so it's reigniting that kind of who we are, rather than the parts that we learned about ourselves. And so that's my intro to havening. Fast forward, in my final year of medical school, you get 10 weeks off to do an elective to choose something. At the time, no shit, I was going to go and learn biofeedback with some of Bessel van der Kolk's colleagues in America. And I think the setup is like tens of thousands to try and set up for trauma relief, because you have to get all the EEG waves and all of the complex tech, etc. And I think the rate of actually to precisely go back in time and erase the impacts of a traumatic response is actually quite low. And so I was all signed up, had everything then, and then COVID happened. And so back I was with just your hands, because with havening all you need is literally hands and if you're online an internet connection. And I trained in it, and I learned the most phenomenal life transformative technique of my life, that not only I used it for myself to like, have you heard of imposter syndrome? So many doctors and medical students have it. I'd say anyone who's like that high professional job, trying to like force themselves to feel good enough and prove them their worth. I had that as well, and so many other things. And so my goal became that kind of self-mastery of all of the shitty programs inside myself that are not helpful to hold. And so trying to get through medical school, feeling like a failure, not good enough, dumb, woman, shouldn't be there, indigenous, all the lens, the shame, the guilt, the this, I'm small, not helpful. And so then I started using this not only for the PTSD and anxiety and getting to the core of that, but also what are the beliefs that we hold that aren't helping us serve humanity. And so that is me. Oh, and then I became a trainer a couple of years back as well. So now I train people in this.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
And that was my 20s, folks.
Yeah, that,
Imagine.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Imagine, yes, imagine if this is just wildly spread, available to people, which is kind of our goal to really have it better known, and it's easy to apply. And yes, we also need people who know what they're doing. So, wow, great.
And I guess that's where my segue into. So I started, obviously, I went through the journey of being a practitioner, using it on myself, which we can talk about later in terms of what the transitions can actually happen when you as the practitioner or you as the person heal your stuff, and the magic that that can create for the relationships around you. But then I became the trainer, and that was the best part about my evolution as a havening person, because I realized that what would it be like if we could train a team or a community or a family, or create a family network of havening practitioners, so no matter what you went through in your life experience, then you had someone to tap on the shoulder and actually receive the healing. And I think as women, especially as health professionals, which I was at the time, we're constantly giving our energy out and we're taking on responsibility for the world and we're the emotional buffers, but when do we actually receive our own superpowers or our own healing? And so that's been the miracle that I've seen, is like possibly in 2020, I found my what I call evolution buddy, Megan Craven. She is like on the other end of me. We are the yin and the yang. She's a mum. She was a cytogeneticist. She's a naturopath now. She's got this very like calming energy, whereas I'm just quite dynamic and out there. And so we made this kind of pact. We started practicing havening on each other, and whoever needed that space or the attention or the time to just be held and seen could receive that. And so we've been doing it for 2 years. Now we meet every week and we just have a catch up and we just heal what needs to be tended to. And like the miracles in our life, whether it be like I've transitioned from having a whole identity, being a medical student, to a junior doctor, to then exiting the medical career. I've had a whole kind of identity from being with a serious twin flame for 6 years, stuck in New Zealand, wanting to explore. Now I live in Bali and found the love of my life was completely safe, and I'm not recycling like toxic abandonment issues anymore. And so I think on that practical level, on how as women or how as humans do we actually connect into being alive or living in more love and joy, really we need to get the trauma out of the way, because that's just automatic responses that take up our attention all the time. And so that's been the biggest transition for me. And so now I'm working at how do we create this in a training. And so with my trainees, I get them to practice and receive havening on each other with the hope that they're going to find their evolution buddy, and then forever you'll receive healing for free, no cost, and it's just this beautiful exchange to receive and then also to give. And the impact that that can have is that one little human in the family unit is huge. You can heal your relationship with your partner, you can heal ancestral intergenerational trauma, you can heal those parts of yourself or the parts of your mum or your grandma that were never able to be seen. And so that's my biggest, like that's where I get the joy, is like training more people, but to work together as a collective or to receive this gift forever for free.
Great. I mean, just listen, and I remember you shared this part at the conference, and maybe for those who haven't been at the conference, and you say a little bit more about evolution body. How do they get together? What is it? How s- I realize that people they hear it, but a lot of us, it's helpful to get like step by step.
Yes, okay. So we'll start off with the word trauma. And so one of the hallmarks of trauma is to be completely alone in your suffering. And so when I think of all of those moments that I've kind of briefly shared with you about my story, but also every client that I've seen where all of these moments got stuck, stuffed, and stored in our body, there was this essence that we were completely alone. Whether a person might have physically been there, they weren't emotionally there to support and hold us. And so I think one of the beautiful things about being human is to connect. And it's to create that sense of safety or that curiosity and play and joy, to know that I've actually got you and I see you and I hear you. And I just happen to have some tools that can help you transcend your trauma, your difficult emotions, limiting beliefs. And so that kind
Can
of,
I
yeah,
get in here for one moment? Because from my experience is, and it's also my personal experience. One of the trauma responses
yes,
is, or was also in my, is I have to do it by myself. So
100%.
this, and also this, because trauma very often is connected with other people. So how to overcome or how to get into that thing of reaching out to another person, because my experience is that it's one of the hardest thing, even though it's one of the thing I need the most. So how to do this or what to do?
Like the practical step, I'll give you practical step by step, but just acknowledging that that's so common, you know, and especially I see it in my women clients all the time, the mums, the carers, the people who learn it is unsafe to trust someone else in my life. So I've just got to hold, the buck stops with me and I take it on alone. And so the funny practical thing, and I always say my personality, I always try and see like the rose tinted glasses of this, but the practical element of it for my trainees is that I just create the dynamic where they are practicing on each other. And so we have like a 4 to 5 day training, and I make sure that they come with 4, 5+ traumatic experiences that they can recall, or things that still stick or sting. And it's just getting past that hurdle of you're going to be switching partners for this, and you're going to be practicing, and you're going to be receiving, and you're going to be practicing, and you're going to be receiving. And so for me, at that kind of systematic level for them, I'm creating that normality of it. And so it's just part of the training, it's just what we do. And then afterwards, now that you know your buddies are safe and you're all just learning here, like we're just learning a tool, now you're going to go out and practice your next 5 case studies on each other. And so from that kind of trainer lens, that's how I put in the practicality of it. From the trauma lens on what actually inside that person, what did they experience where people are unsafe and that they can't trust the other, or it's difficult to ask for help because something bad's going to happen. Well, then that's where we've got havening to help. And it's such a common one to take on everything but not receive. And I think it's not only just practically receiving, so hey, Simone, I'm really struggling today, can you please give me a havening session? I think that's one layer of it. But it's also that inability or difficulty to receive our own superpowers as well. And that's what I'm seeing coming up, even in our training, is like we're amazing human beings and we struggle to actually bring that back to ourselves and tap into that energy.
I love it because I have another program. That's exactly what I do in that program too.
Of
So
course.
bringing that, and this is also speaking to Havening trainers as an idea of how to support people to start getting into that body system and supporting each other, and not just taking the training and then going out and working with your clients, but actually what I just take from this, see how to implement this in our trainings with our practitioners, so we can make sure this own healing, which we both know it's so important to continue on your own healing path, and then bring it to your clients.
And I think that's where you hit it on the money, because when I think about the onboarding calls and why people sign up for this, usually they would have experienced the magic of it, so they know that havening can regulate the nervous system, we can process some trauma or some difficult emotions. But when they sign up, literally no one signed up on our discovery call to say, I'm stuffed up. I've got some stuff in the back end. I need some healing. Yes, sign me up for this course. They've signed up because they're usually working in the healing profession, or I got to train my best friend on my last training and she's like the unpaid therapist doing all the work without tools to heal the trauma. They always sign up for the other person. And so that's just the normal, that's bread and butter standard for healers, for fixers, for health professionals, is we sign up because I know that if I learn this tool, it's going to be of service to my clients because I haven't got a tool that helps rapidly and gently transform trauma, for example. Then it's my role as a trainer to go, okay, honey, don't worry. By the end of this, you're going to get that experience. You're going to have the tools to be able to use that with your client. But we kind of give some real fundamental value imprinting. And so Megan Craven, she does a really good job, so she's also my co-facilitator, at sharing this research finding from Veda Austin. She's a New Zealand scientist who really looks at the natural intelligence of water. And so she starts the whole week with a quick story. I'll try and make it as quick as I can, of the impact that you can have once you're regulated and once you're in your superpowers. And so Veda Austin, she studies the structure of water. What she saw is that when she had caged eggs and she looked at the albumin, which is the protein within the egg, the cellular structure of it was very kind of not uniform, not beautiful. It only had like 3 or 4 expressions. And so it just looked pretty flat. There wasn't much expression in the caged egg. In the free-range egg, the albumin structure was really different. And what they saw was much more expression, much more variation, much more uniformity. And the miraculous thing was that when we actually surrounded the caged eggs with less structure, less integrity, less patterns with the free range eggs, they actually, instead of the free range taking on the lack of kind of negativity of the caged eggs, it was the opposite. And so the caged eggs then took on the structure, the frequency of the free range egg. And so Megan does it in a lot more kind of eloquent way. But it's the understanding that when you actually become the free range egg, when you're not reacting from your trauma responses, when you can act from your conscious self and your talents who are here to do what you're supposed to do, then magic and miracles naturally happen. But by you being your own expression, you give permission for others to do the same. And so we heavily implant that at the start of our training. Then we use, oh my goodness, yeah, watch this. Watch this. You can just like whip a trauma out like that for your simple traumas. And how do you feel now? And so they can start to feel, oh my goodness, I'm becoming the free range egg. I don't hold that thought. I don't hold the emotion. I don't hold that kind of body sensation anymore. I'm changing. And then we let them look at the impact that that can have, not only in their own lives and how good it feels, but also they go home that night, they have a great sleep. They communicate with their husband, their partner, and they've changed. And so that's one. And then the second is just the understanding. And I really, I get them to go over it again and again, is that you're not completing the certification alone. You've been there, done that, we've done other trainings like that. Was it a joyful ride? Probably not. And so you as a unit, you're a team. We're going to keep accountability as a team. And so if one of you is at case history 10 and the other one's at 1, then person on number 10, I want you to get in contact with the number 1 and say, hey, come and practice on me. And so I think that's like a trick, a mental trick to say, it's not that person reaching out saying, come and help me, because obviously there are those blocks there and layers we need to unfold. But it's that person who's ahead actually taking accountability to then help that person out and to support them. And so I think those are two real simple frames. So becoming the change you literally want to see and embody, and then feeling it through that practice. Getting more hands-on practice over a longer period of time so you feel confident. And that's just something we do now. And then having that accountability is that it's not an individual thing, it's a collective thing, it's a team thing on how you're getting through the training. And by the end of that, there's usually, by the 4 days, and same with Robin Youngson's training as well, he does this really well, with that length of time, with the vulnerability, but also reorientating to the superpowers, there's a family by the end of it. And I think that's one of the biggest things you can get from havening, and especially those longer havening trainings.
Beautiful. I mean, it's really inspiring listening to you. So I'm taking bits of it to adjust.
Take whatever you love, and that's what I mean, like take whatever you need, sister. If things land, that's for you.
Yeah, because I see this also my other program. It's really helping. It's so helping if people do the work together and go through those processes with the help of someone else. And as you said, there is trust, and then they find their bodies, and so they can relate to each other. Wonderful, great, wonderful. Anything else you'd like to share?
I guess the only thing to kind of add into the evolution buddies is a kind of, it's an intuitive self-directed process. And so if there's a part of you inside that is like, whoa, I know I'm made to heal, I know my childhood wasn't the best and there's probably still some imprints of that inside my body, and I'm here to serve humanity but I keep getting in the way, then those are probably signals that this concept of you receiving your own healing, the pain of staying as you are, the pain of staying stuck in those programs, is more than what it would be like to actually receive havening. And so I always find there's two frames of people. That's one, the kind of curious person who knows that they're here to serve and life is made for living and you want to experience that more, and that's where this evolution concept can come in really handy. And then there's the other client or the other kind of trainee as well, where I did havening once, my PTSD, it's done, that's enough, I don't need to do any more inner work, and that's absolutely fine too. Or same with the clients who just want the medication as opposed to actually exploring those parts of themselves. And so I think this isn't a journey for everyone. But for the person who's sitting here being like, I would love to do some more healing, perhaps the reason why I'm in this field for others is actually because I want that inside myself, then that's an opening for you. But it's not like forced, and it's also, you don't need to sign up to this. This is just a journey that we're on.
For me, what the part that I it's already in havening itself, just that we do the havening when we work online as a practitioner or as a trainer, that we do the havening while we're working with a client is so helpful to ourselves. So just go a step further and really work with your evolution body. Wonderful.
Yes, or train your partner, like, and that's where as a trainer for just regulation, not for the trauma stuff, but like I utilize it with my partner all the time. We've even got our own language, and so there's a we call a SUD score, subjective units of distress, which we use as practitioners or trainers with one-on-ones, and just gets you to rate your stress from 10 to 0. 10 is most stress you've ever felt, 0 is completely neutral. And so we've adapted the stress score into our home, and it's the simple thing of he comes home and I can see by like the way he's pacing around the house, like I can see that there's some stress score going on, and it's just saying, hey, like I notice that you're pacing around the house. What's your stress score out of 10? Oh, it's a 7 or an 8 or a 9. Okay, you want to stay there, or should we just do some havening and hold some space for it? He's like, fine, okay. It only takes him 15 minutes to go from a 10 to a 0. It's actually amazing. And I give him the head rubs. And I think there's the element of self-havening, which we've learned to do, which means we're doing it on ourselves. But if you have the option to do it in a relationship with someone that you love or someone that you care for, it takes it to a whole nother level in person. And so I just see this man go from like storming around the house forward and back, and his mind's going everywhere trying to solve a problem that he'll never be able to solve in that particular state, to then feeling absolutely neutral, calm, relaxed. And the decision he was so worried about is easy to make now. And he does the same for me when my thoughts are racing, and he asks me what my stress score is, and then he just touches my head and will hold me. And so I think that is there's a therapeutic element of havening where we use it with practitioners for like trauma, anxiety, but there's also the everyday triggers that we get put into, and also receiving the touch by us from someone else that we trust and love. And that could also be the substitute of not only a partner, but could be a fur baby. So like if you have your dog and you are feeling stressed, and you know that dog's going to look up with you with its little puppy eyes and love you and love all of you. Same thing. It's to be held and supported.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have mine. She's
Yeah.
sleeping over there. Yeah.
And and so that's it's how can we normalize, and I think that's my big message, is how can we normalize healing, and just I think Megan and I have been talking a lot about it, and it's just making it a lifestyle.
Hmm.
It shouldn't be something we need to fix because there's something wrong with us. It shouldn't be in the ideal world someone we have to go and pay $200-300 for to then get something to fix in ourselves. It should be something that we do as a lifestyle every day as human beings, because in the world we live, we've got so many experiences, and we've got such a toxic culture out there that is going to embed traumatic moments, that are going to embed nervous system dysregulation inside us. And so I think that's the how can we normalize this and also make it fun and exciting, which, boy, I'm sure your sessions are fun and exciting too. But we can move back into love, and we can move back into joy, and we can be alive in the whole human experience, which is to be safe enough to feel these uncomfortable emotions and process them, so we can return home, which is that default, which is the love. And I think that is like a that's all I ever did as like a facilitator in a role, is return us home to love by getting safety for all the shitty stuff that's in the way, all the stuff that's inside our body, and then that'll be a life well lived.
Wonderful. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
just a
yeah.
huge and big yes. Oh, thank you so much. So if people want to connect with you, I will link everything you sent me, and so they can connect to you if they are open to it, if they want to experience the ease and fun and depth and love and compassion. So I love them to connect with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, lovely lady. I was going to say, we're not really going, are we? Or you're just going to stop record?